As the Tory party move away from free market capitalism and go towards big government socialism, Jeremy Hunt and Rishi Sunak are taking it to a whole new level. Every time I do these videos about these two, Hunt and Sunak, I need to start the video by just shaking my head. That's just a natural reaction these days. So, we have Jeremy Hunt as Chancellor, as you guys know, who I'm still pretty convinced that he's de facto Prime Minister, basically, because he's running the agenda, he's getting so many titles and roles, and a lot of responsibility, and Rishi Sunak is just walking around with his short trousers, going to COP27 and say, hello, I'm Rishi Sunak, pay attention to me. But in reality, the whole agenda is going hardcore. Now, Jeremy Hunt is the same pro-China Jeremy Hunt. He's an admirer of the CCP and their methods in policy making, especially when it came to lockdown. Now, and he's got some links, as you guys know. And also, Rishi Sunak can't talk because he also has links. That idea aside, we have newspaper headlines creating this propaganda, saying Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunt are reviving Thatcherism to rescue the UK. What? They are reviving Thatcherism. Are you sure about that? I'm pretty convinced that whilst the press in this country is open and free, and they still are under regulation, they have press regulation, I'm pretty sure, unless you actually use a quote from them, it's a complete lie. It's just misleading. The whole narrative is misleading. For example, and make sure to actually, if you're not already, follow Adrian Hilton on Twitter, because he talks sense sometimes, which is good. He's a sound guy. He said, Thatcherism was never as sterile, and and actually, to be fair, before we actually talk about this part, because it's actually about when you say Thatcherism, there's a difference between the economic policies and the character. And this is why this topic is not about Thatcherism in terms of Maggie Thatcher. It's about Thatcher's program. And as Adrian Hilton says, it wasn't just tax hikes and spending cuts. There was a bit of a balance. It was fluid. And of course, at times, it was gradual. And obviously, it says complex. And it would change things. Now, the issue with this is that at the time, it embodied limited government and enabling of organic civil society. And of course, it took time. And of course, their first reaction was chaotic. That's just normal. You know, when you catch a cold, when you take some pills and tablets inside your body, there's a bit of a clash. The first few minutes, the first few hours, first day or two, there's a bit of a clash inside because there's a fight. Now, in the 80s, while she was doing radicalism, there was chaos because the system had to get used to it. Society had to get used to it. But there was still a bit of a balance. You know, she didn't do it by raising taxes and doing spending cuts. That won't work. Even the coalition government of David Cameron and George Osborne, even that government, by the way, they still did, but they did spending cuts, we know that, but they also did a bit of tax cuts, controversial tax cuts. They did actual business tax, they brought it down, corporation tax. There was a bit of an outrage from the socialist left. They're saying you're just giving more money to businesses. Ooh, bad people. In reality, that increased the revenue for the Treasury, because that's how it works. The Laffer curve, it works. You bring it down a little bit, not too much, you bring it down a little bit, you encourage more investment, more spending, and it actually increases revenue. If it was black and white, the concept of taxation, then of course you could just increase it to 75%, 80% taxation, you get more money. But you don't, because productivity would go down. So you need to decrease a little bit. They also brought down their top rate of income tax, Osborne and Cameron. And that was radical. So it wasn't just tax hikes and spending. This is what people like Jeremy Hunt and Rishi Sunak don't get. They are more socialist than the coalition government. That's a bit embarrassing, yes. So let's take a quick break. I'll come back in half an hour. We're going to talk to you guys about Stanley Johnson, the father of the former Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, who went on TV and essentially exposed the reality of life under net zero. Subscribe to the channel on my TC, and we are the media.